Hi, I'm Dan Leyland, the founder of How2-Change. Our mission is to help organisations to do what may have seemed impossible so their people can deliver exceptional results, enjoy their work, and feel fulfilled. We partner with private equity and mid to large sized organisations driving transformational change through mergers, acquisitions, and integrations. Our approach is hands-on, delivering measurable outcomes and leaving behind a legacy of capability and confidence. So where does this podcast fit in? For years, I've asked people I've met for the single best piece of advice they've ever received, whether that's taking an opportunity after arriving early for a meeting or over a cup of coffee. The benefit to me personally has been huge, but I've been the only beneficiary. So the aim of this podcast is to extend the reach of that opportunity for broader benefits, sharing interesting insights from interesting people to make a positive difference. I hope that you find these conversations as inspiring as I do. Now, let's dive in. Morning, Benjamin. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Yeah. You want to just take 30 seconds or so and introduce yourself and perhaps explain the Antler Boy website?
Yeah, I'm Benjamin Taylor. I have been in change in organisations and particularly in public services, well, ever since I got into organisations, really, after graduating in philosophy in 1997. And public services, big consultancies, business process outsourcer, set up Red Quadrant, which is a network consultancy, in 2009, and a thing called the Public Service Transformation Academy, which is a social enterprise, in 2016. And the other thing that people might know me for is I'm very passionate about systems, cybernetics, and complexity. Yes, people might know me as Antler Boy. That's because the short version of my name, or even the long version, frankly, there's an awful lot of Ben and Benjamin Taylors in the world. So it's almost impossible to get my tag on any internet sign up, particularly social media. But back at the end of the last millennium, there was an office Christmas party where somebody did an anagram round, and Antler Boy is actually an anagram of Ben Taylor. So there's no deep significance to it. There's no embarrassing story from my youth. It's just a way of getting a good, perhaps recognizable, perhaps slightly unprofessional, but maybe that kind of suits me, name on the social medias.
That's great. I've been curious for a while now, I know. So now if we move on then, best piece of advice you've ever had and how you've managed to apply it to change.
So I find this really hard, as I mentioned to you, Dan. I don't capture kind of phrases and things like that. So if I'm ever asked for my best or top 10 or any of those things, I can either give a sort of extemporaneous answer, improvise, or I can go into the darkened room for about a week and work through everything I've ever learned and try to work it out, and that usually drives me insane. So I've got a bit of a mix. I turn in this circumstances to Peter Block, who's a very good guru, both in consultancy and in community building. So it's a good mix for me. And couple of the things he said: how can we change the world? Exactly. Join us and we'll see. It's a little bit Zen-like, a little bit gnomic. He also says fallibility is recognized in community, not fixed. Don't be helpful. And then the thing that he comes back to time and time again is don't worship too small a god. And I want to also bring in a guy who I worked with, who's a bit of a spiritual teacher, Jonathan, who once responded to my question, is there anything to be afraid of, with, good question. Is there anything to be afraid of? So those are really things for me that are about connection, humanity. Nora Bateson said, there's no community without first communing, and about the need in consultancy and in the kind of work that I want to do, which is, helping people have better lives, basically, for what Peter Block calls creating a platform for uncertainty and doubt. About supportiveness, communing, coming together, recognizing, seeing, as we're trying to do now, getting really deeply interested in other human beings, looking for strengths and going from there, and not getting stuck on things, and not getting stuck on fear, not getting stuck, as I have done a lot in the last year, on kind of, and I tend to do quite a lot, on negativity or anger, or those kind of things. And you might think that that's not as relevant for a big corporate change program, or for transforming public services, but I think it's absolutely at the heart of it.
Interesting. Great. And you found that bringing those things together, presumably you were talking about making a difference and improving people's lives. All of those must feed into the public service work.
Yeah, I think that's right, and actually they work very well in a corporate context as well. There is something to be said for a program of fixed scope, fixed time, that is delivering an implementation of a thing that needs to be done, and that's great. That's not really the work that I do. I will do it if somebody pays me sufficiently, but even if I'm doing that, what I'm likely to actually do in the meantime is create the space for possibilities, create uncertainty and doubt, conversation, bring people together to actually connect, to actually think through what are we doing here, what are we trying to achieve, to actually try and work from strengths, and actually try and go for something which is more innate, more inspired by people coming together, than it is programmatic and rationalistic and predetermined. Change is all about, I think, creating new possibilities for something better, for a tomorrow that is different from today, and therefore we do need to actually. It's always a we that's creating that possibility. So there needs to be a focus on the we. Who are we? How do we relate together? And then on the possibility. What possibilities do we see inherent in this group of people, in this organisation, in this community, in this change programme?
Fantastic. Thanks. And if people wanted to get into contact, how would they do it? I'm guessing perhaps the website, and what kind of contact would be mutually beneficial?
Hopefully, I'm quite findable with Antlerboy on social media. The website is below, and I'm on all the social medias, very visible on LinkedIn. I'm really interested in people who want to work with these kind of ideas in delivering real change. I'm always up for these conversations and the philosophy and the thinking, and so on. My job is actually doing that delivery of change, so those kind of contacts are especially welcome. But anybody who resonates with what I'm talking about, there's definitely some possibilities to create something together, I think.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dan.